Washington Navy Yard. Naval History and Heritage Command, NHHC, has confirmed the wreck site of World War II submarine USS Harder, SS-257. Using data collected and provided by Tim Taylor, CEO of Tiburon Subsea and the Lost 52 Project, NHHC's Underwater Archaeology branch confirmed the wreck site they discovered as the final resting place of USS Harder, SS-257. Taylor received a Distinguished Public Service Award from the Navy in 2021 for Lost 52 Project's work to locate, discover, and memorialize the 52 submarines lost during World War II. Previous submarines located by Lost 52 Project include USS Grayback, SS-208, USS Stickleback, SS-415, USS R-12, SS-89, USS-26, SS-131, and USS-28, SS-133, and USS Grunion, SS-216. The first USS Harder, SS-257, was commissioned on December 2, 1942, with Commander Samuel D. Dealey in command, and lost at sea with 79 souls aboard on August 24, 1944. Resting at a depth of more than 3,000 feet, the vessel sits upright on her keel, relatively intact except for the depth charge damage aft of the conning tower. Submarines, by their very design, can be a challenge to identify, but the excellent state of preservation of the site and the quality of the data collected by Lost 52 Project allowed for NHHC to confirm the identity of the wreck as Harder. Harder was lost in the course of victory. We must not forget that victory has a price, as does freedom, said NHHC Director Samuel J. Cox, U.S. Navy Rear Admiral, retired.
We are grateful that Lost 52 has given us the opportunity to once again honor the valor of the crew of the Hidden Harder submarine that sank the most Japanese warships in particularly audacious attacks under her legendary skipper, Commander Sam Dealey.
Harder's fifth war patrol was the submarine's most successful. Harder depleted the critical supply of destroyers by sinking 3 of them and heavily damaging or destroying 2 others in 4 days, and her frequent attacks resulted in Admiral Ozawa's Mogul fleet departing Tawi-Tawi a day ahead of schedule. The premature departure upset the Japanese battle plans and forced Ozawa to delay his carrier force in the Philippine Sea, contributing to the defeat suffered by the Japanese in the ensuing battle. The submarine's last known location was in the South China Sea off Luzon during her 6th and final war patrol. Early on August 22, Harder and USS Hado, SS-255, attacked and destroyed 3 escort ships off Bataan, Harder sinking escort ships Matsuwa and Hiburi. Joined by USS Hake that night, the coordinated attack group headed for Kaiman Point, Luzon. At dawn on August 23, Hado attacked and fatally damaged the destroyer Asakatse off Cape Bolineo. Hado informed Harder and Hake that her torpedoes were expended and left for replenishment. Harder and Hake remained off Dasol Bay, searching for new targets. Before dawn on August 24, Hake sighted the escort ship CD-22 and patrol boat number 102. As Hake closed to attack, the patrol boat turned away toward Dasol Bay. Hake broke off approach, turned northward, sighting Harder's periscope 600 to 700 yards dead ahead. Swinging southward, Hake sighted CD-22 about 2,000 yards off her port quarter. To escape, Hake went deep and rigged for silent running. At 0728, Hake's crew reported hearing 15 rapid depth charges explode in the distance astern. Hake continued evasive action, returning to the attack area shortly after noon to sweep the area at periscope depth, only finding a ring of marker buoys covering a radius of 1/2 mile. Japanese records later revealed Harder fired 3 torpedoes at CD-22. The Japanese ship evaded the torpedoes and began a series of depth charge attacks at 0728, the fifth depth charge attack sinking Harder and her crew. Harder received the Presidential Unit Citation for her first 5 patrols, 6 battle stars for World War II service. Commander Dealey was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his outstanding contribution to the war effort on Harder's 5th patrol. Dealey's other awards included a Navy Cross September 1943 for Harder's first war patrol, a Gold Star in lieu of 2nd Navy Cross November 1943 for 2nd War Patrol, a 2nd Gold Star in lieu of 3rd Navy Cross February 1944 for 3rd War Patrol, the Distinguished Service Cross July 1944 for 4th War Patrol, and the Silver Star posthumously October 1948 for the 6th War Patrol. The wreck of USS Harder SS-257 is a U.S. sunken military craft protected by U.S. law and under the jurisdiction of the Department of the Navy. While non-intrusive activities such as remote sensing documentation on U.S. Navy sunken military craft are allowed, any activity that may result in the disturbance of a sunken military craft must be coordinated with NHHC and, if appropriate, authorized through a relevant permitting program. Most importantly, the wreck represents the final resting place of sailors that gave their life in defense of the nation and should be respected by all parties as a war grave.
The USS Albacore disappeared 79 years ago. Searchers have finally found it. The U.S. Navy submarine USS Albacore, SS-218, lost and on eternal patrol for 79 years, has finally been found. The missing and presumed lost sub was discovered off the coast of northern Japan by a team using autonomous underwater vehicles. The submarine disappeared in November 1944 on her 11th war patrol, likely after striking a mine. The announcement was made by the U.S. Navy's Naval History and Heritage Command. The command's underwater archaeology branch confirmed that data provided by Professor Tamaki Ura of the University of Tokyo showed Albacore resting off the coast of Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost island, where the Navy suspected she had been lost. Japan's NHK News reports the submarine was found approximately 4.3 miles off the city of Hakodate. This corresponds to the Tsugaru Strait, a narrow waterway between Hokkaido and the main island of Honshu. Albacore was likely positioned to ambush any shipping transiting the strait or traveling between the two islands. She was reportedly instructed to stay out of the strait itself, which the U.S. Navy believed might be mined. Quote, using a high-performance sonar that searches underwater with sound waves, we discovered what seems to be a hull of about 164 feet in the seabed of about 820 feet. On the 26th, when I submerged the underwater robot camera and took a picture, I caught a part that seems to be a bridge and a pillar that looks like a periscope. Albacore, commissioned just 7 months after Pearl Harbor, was one of the most successful submarines of the war. She sunk 10 enemy ships, including transports, tankers, freighters, and patrol craft. Most notably, she was responsible for sinking the brand-new aircraft carrier Taiho, the flagship of the Japanese fleet, during the Battle of the Philippine Sea. Quote, strong currents, marine growth, and poor visibility on site made it challenging to fully document the wreck or obtain comprehensive images. However, several key features of a late 1944 Gato-class submarine were identified in the video. Quote, indications of documented modifications made to Albacore prior to her final patrol, such as the presence of an SJ radar dish and mast, a row of vent holes along the top of the superstructure, and the absence of steel plates along the upper edge of the fairwater, allowed UAB to confirm the wreck site finding as Albacore. Albacore's resting place is treated as a grave site. She had a crew of 85, and the location is protected by the Abandoned Shipwrecks Act.
Ura's team plans to go back in August and survey the wreck again using a larger underwater robot.
Divers may have found U.S. Navy submarine Grenadier lost in WWII. Bangkok. Divers have found what they believe is the wreck of a U.S. Navy submarine lost 77 years ago in Southeast Asia, providing a coda to a stirring but little-known tale from World War II. The divers have sent photos and other evidence from 6 dives they made from October 2019 to March this year, 2020, to the United States Naval History and Heritage Command for verification that they have found the USS Grenadier SS-210, one of 52 American submarines lost during the conflict. The 1,475-ton, 307-foot-long Grenadier was scuttled on April 22, 1933 by its crew after bombs from a Japanese plane almost sent them to a watery grave. All 76 of its personnel survived the bombing and sinking, but their agony to follow would be prolonged. After being taken prisoner, they were tortured, beaten, and nearly starved by their Japanese captors for more than 2 years, and 4 did not survive that ordeal. The wreck lies 82 meters, or 270 feet, underwater somewhere in the Strait of Malacca, about 150 kilometers 92 miles south of Phuket, Thailand. It was discovered by Singapore-based Jean-Luc Revoyer and Benoit Laboure of France, and Australian Lance Horowitz and Belgian Ben Remanence, who live in Phuket, Thailand.
USS Greyback, missing World War II submarine, found after 75 years. An American submarine that went missing in World War II has been discovered at the bottom of the East China Sea. The USS Greyback, SS-208, and its 80 crew members disappeared in February 1944 when it was attacked by a Japanese aircraft. An underwater exploration project found the submarine off the coast of Okinawa, Japan, after finding military documents with the correct coordinates to locate it. The original coordinates had been mistranslated and were missing a digit. The families of the 80 crew members who were on board the submarine have been told about its discovery. For Kathy Taylor, whose uncle John Patrick King was on the vessel, the discovery brings closure. I committed from the very beginning when I was a little girl that I was going to find him or follow him or keep his memory alive, she told ABC News. The Lost 52 Project, whose aim is to locate lost U.S. submarines from World War II, led the mission to find the USS Greyback off the coast of Okinawa, Japan. They realized that the original Japanese mission logs of where Greyback had sunk had been mistranslated, leaving out a digit, and were wrong by at least 100 miles. Along with the use of new drone technology, the recovered military documents meant the team could correctly locate the submarine, which was at a depth of 1,427 feet, just over a quarter-mile down.
Mystery of lost Argentine submarine ends a year later deep at sea. Buenos Aires. In the year since 44 Argentine sailors vanished aboard a submarine, some relatives of the missing crew members had refused to speak of their loved ones in the past tense as they held out hope for a miracle, or at least clarity as to what befell them. This weekend, Argentine officials said the wreckage of the submarine had been found, offering the first concrete answers about one of the deadliest and most confounding maritime disasters in modern times. "If we had a speck of hope, now there is none left," said Giselle Polo, the sister of Esteban Alejandro Polo, 32, one of the sailors who died. "We've seen the images, they describe the depth where it was found. It makes no sense to keep talking about him as if he were still alive." The discovery of the submarine, almost a year to the day after it disappeared in stormy weather, revealed that it imploded close to the ocean floor, officials said on Saturday, but that its main hull appeared to be whole. Now, the government of President Mauricio Macri will have to answer questions from frustrated families about what more can be gleaned from the wreckage. The disappearance of the submarine had confounded experts and had drawn attention to the dilapidated state of Argentina's armed forces. Relatives of the missing sailors decried the military as reckless. "This is news that fills us with enormous pain," Mr. Mockery said in a recorded message Saturday night, in which he announced 3 days of national mourning. "Now we're opening a period of serious investigations to find out the whole truth."
Above, undated file photo of the Argentine submarine ARA San Juan. Ocean Infinity, a Houston-based ocean mapping company hired a few months ago, found the submarine nearly 270 nautical miles from the port of Comodoro Rivadavia in Chubut Province and about 3,000 feet underwater. The company used unmanned robotic devices to find it. Early this year, Ocean Infinity was retained in the hope of solving another maritime mystery, the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which vanished over the Indian Ocean in 2014. In that case, relatives of the missing passengers have also demanded that the airline and governments not give up on a 4-year search that has cost millions of dollars and yielded few solid clues. Argentina's government signed a contract with Ocean Infinity that guaranteed the company $7.5 million if it found the submarine. The deal came after many crew members' relatives accused the government of abandoning the search. Navy officials said on Saturday that the relatively small area in which debris from the vessel was scattered and dense on its hull suggested an implosion caused by high pressure from the depth of the ocean. The submarine was found in an area that was searched extensively, but that is filled with canyons, making finding it difficult. That area became a focal point after the Vienna-based Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, which has sensors around the globe to monitor nuclear tests, recorded an incident deep in the ocean that was consistent with an explosion. "This is the area where we had assigned 90% of probability for it to be located," said Vice Admiral José Luis Villan, the head of the Argentine Navy. He added that Ocean Infinity brought to bear unique capabilities. "All the navies looked in this area, but absent the technology that this company had, we had not found it," Mr. Villan said. The Norwegian-flagged seabed constructor vessel operated by Ocean Infinity was scheduled to leave the coast of Argentina on November 15th, as the 60-day search contract was up, and the crew was scheduled to head to South Africa in preparation for its next mission, said Oliver Plunkett, CEO of Ocean Infinity. The company wanted to return in February to continue the search. Then, as a member of the team was combing through the images they had already gathered in previous sonar sweeps, he said he had found something in the data, something worth postponing the departure by a few days and inspecting more closely. It was the San Juan. "The remarkable thing about it, it was literally the last thing we were going to do. It is a truly unbelievable moment, in the last hour, on the last day." Argentine officials had little to say regarding next steps or recovery efforts, beyond the need to survey the scene more carefully. The crew of the San Juan was last heard from on November 15, 2017. During the early days of the search, the Argentine military sought assistance from neighboring countries and the United States as rescue personnel scoured the ocean in terrible weather conditions, believing the crew could be alive. After the government acknowledged in late November that the sailors were presumed dead, based on the information provided by the nuclear sensors, the search fizzled, and it seemed likely that the remains would never be found. But that was unacceptable to relatives who pressed Mr. Mockery's cash-strapped government to keep looking. Many relatives of the victims received the news in Mar del Plata, a port city where they had already gathered in the last few days to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the disappearance. Ms. Polo, 24, said relatives were hopeful the remains would be brought to shore. "It is what we all want, but they tell us they are still evaluating it," she said. Some relatives said the news, while painful, brought a measure of closure. "I had already assumed he died," said Maria Itati Leguizamon, the 33-year-old wife of Herman Oscar Suarez, a radar operator on the vessel who was 29 when the San Juan vanished. "But I couldn't help it. There was a part of me that kept holding on to the hope that he could still be alive, but now I know for sure and I can mourn."
It's strange how I feel such a mixture of happiness that they found it, but also immense sadness. I just can't describe it." Officials did not immediately shed new light on what caused the disaster. They also did not say whether or how soon the submarine would be brought to shore. It was also unclear whether human remains could be identified. Officials said they would release a report next week with more technical details about the fate of the submarine and those aboard. The submarine was disappearing during a routine trip from Ushuaia in the Patagonia region to Mar del Plata in Buenos Aires province. 8 days later, in the midst of recovery operations that covered 186,000 square miles, the Navy said an explosion had been recorded near the submarine's last known location, hours after its final communication with the military. Vessels from Brazil, Britain, Chile, Russia, and the United States, among others, combed the seas as part of the search for the German-made submarine, which had been part of Argentina's fleet since 1985. The loss of the San Juan led to a shakeup in the Navy, including the dismissal of its top commander, Admiral Marcelo Eduardo Sruer. Oscar Aguad, the defense minister, has remained in his post. Ocean Infinity began its search on September 7th. 3 naval officers and 4 relatives of the crew members accompanied Ocean Infinity personnel aboard the ship. It involved technology never before used during the localization of a submarine, the Navy said at the time. It said it would deploy autonomous underwater vehicles, which are unmanned, robotic devices equipped with sonar and high-definition cameras that are not tethered to a ship. They could function to a depth of almost 20,000 feet. Ocean Infinity said Saturday that the wreckage of the San Juan was found in a ravine during a search by 5 such vehicles. The devices were operated by 60 crew members on board the seabed constructor. "Our thoughts are with the many families affected by this terrible tragedy," Ocean Infinity CEO Oliver Plunkett said. "I hope that our work will lead to their questions being answered and lessons learned which help to prevent anything similar from happening again,"